We're not, but.
We are live.
Okay, welcome to the preliminary budget hearing, June 17th, 2026. This is for the 26-27 budget. And the presentation is attached for docs for anybody who is watching online. Let's pull that up. Going through our funds, well, first of all, we posted the notice in the North Shore Now on June 3rd and June 10th per state statutes. And the funds that we are using, the general fund, we use this to account for district financial activities for our current operations, except for those that are required to be accounted for in other funds. The special projects fund is our fund 21, used to account for trust funds and gifts. Fund 27 is our special education fund. This is used to account for special education and related services, funded wholly or in part with state or federal special education aid. We cannot have a fund balance in this fund. The debt service fund, currently we are using fund 38. That is our non-referendum debt service fund, and this fund is used for recording transactions related to repayment of our debt. In the fund 40's capital projects fund, we are using fund 46 currently. This is used to account for expenditures financed through different avenues, state trust fund loans, promissory notes, and also the expansion fund tax levy. And then what we're using is we transferred funds from the general fund to fund 46, and that will be available for use in the fall of 2027. And then our food service fund, all revenues and expenditures related to food services are recorded in this fund. We do not have a trust fund in fund 70, and then fund 80 is our community service fund that we are using for programs open to the community. The timeline for this budget started back in November 2025, and we've been updating this. Different factors are coming into play through May 2026 when the board approved the preliminary budget to come to this budget hearing. After the meeting tonight, at the board meeting, the board will approve the preliminary budget for use July 1st through the original budget in October. In September, we will get the third Friday pupil count, and then also our summer school membership reports, and those will give us our FTEs that we will use for the final budget. And then October 1st, the Department of Revenue will put out the tax apportionment value certifications, and then we will know the value of our properties to set that will come into play for the levy rate. October 15th, we will know the Department of Public Instruction will certify state aid, so we'll know that dollar amount, and also the private school voucher aid amounts and any other final budget adjustments will be put together. And then at the end of October, we will have a budget hearing for the original 26-27 budget, and the board will set the levy. And we will certify that to the municipalities in November. Some of the budget factors coming into play in this budget, per pupil increase on the revenue limit. We saw an increase of $325 per pupil for 26-27. This is a 2.4% increase in revenues. The increase is lower than the CPI of 2.63 that we used for wage increases. Voucher and special needs scholarships payments are projected to increase 28%, $268,386. This is based on what we're seeing, the numbers of our students choosing to use these vouchers. And then projecting it forward. These amounts would be levied and expended in the general fund. Payments would be 6% of the general fund budget for fiscal year 26-27. Transfers are expenditures made from the general fund to other funds to ensure that there's not a negative fund balance. Fund 27 is not allowed to have a fund balance, and we have to make a transfer each year to make up for the difference in state and federal aids. To cover this expenditures in Fund 27, state and federal aids make up about 30%. State aid, equalization, and special adjustment aids are projected to be 1.6 million. We are putting together a balanced budget, the general fund. The voters approved a 4-year, $5 million per year operational referendum, which made this possible. And Fund 80 is intentionally budgeted with a deficit. Any costs above revenues will pull from the fund balance. Compensation increases, the board approved a commitment for salaries to be a minimum of 90% of our area max for each position type, and staff received a minimum of 2.63 increase in this budget. A major budget driver is enrollment. This is for staffing expenses and for supplies, anything related to instruction and student services. And then also, as far as enrollment, it revenues, it drives our revenues through the revenue limit and through aid. So you can see our current enrollment and future year projections. And this is by grade. We're projecting enrollment of 954 students. And then revenue assumptions are membership FTE, and these FTEs are used in the state aid formula and in the revenue limit formula. And for 26-27, we're looking at a total FTE of 961. And then the 3-year average with that number would be 954. And this is membership is taking, and FTE is taking students, taking the pupil count and subtracting out students who do not live in the district, adding students who are attending school through open enrollment, and then that FTE where some students are here full-time and others are partial. The revenue limit starts with our base revenue from the previous year. That would be the 25-26 year. So our base revenue starting out is 12,844,057. And then using our base year average FTE, the prior 3 years of 936, gives us a base revenue per member of 13,722. And then when we add our per pupil increase of 325, we come to our maximum revenue per member, which is $14,047. And then our current 3-year average projected to be 954. Multiply those, we come out with 13,401,105. We would add in a transfer of service. It's just a low number. We're just estimating that we would have. We have not calculated that yet. Of 20,000, and then non-recurring exemptions of 6,237,190. These non-recurring exemptions include the 5 million operational, and then also exemptions for our students who are attending private schools through vouchers and special needs scholarships. Then our state general aid. And this includes property, personal property aid and computer aid, in addition to our equalization aid and special adjustment aid of 2,202,370. This allows a limited levy of $17,455,925. And then this is showing a comparison of our revenue limits. 25-26 and then 26-27. Our general fund, is expected to start the year with a, beginning fund balance of $4,277,660. Anticipating revenues of $20,823,443. Expenditures, lower than revenues. Expenditures of $20,470,008 for an ending fund balance of $4,631,095. And you can see that comparison to last year's revenues and expenditures. Expecting revenues to go up, expenditures are going down. The numbers for 25-26 are showing expenditures with that $3 million transfer to pay debt. And that brought our fund balance down as well. This budget, this is showing general fund revenue sources, showing federal, state, interdistrict, local, and reimbursements. Local property tax levy, $16,852,495. Equalization aid of $433,997. And then special adjustment aid, $1,194,625. Last year, we did not have special adjustment aid. We had 1.9 million of equalization aid. And there's a hold harmless to keep us from dropping below a certain percent. So you'll see equalization aid is much lower, but they're adding special adjustment aid to keep them steady. Other state aid, 1.2 million. Federal funds, 225,432, and then other revenues of 626,478. General fund expenses, $20,470,008. There's a chart showing how those are being broken out. Salaries and benefits projected to be 7.6 million. Transfers to Fund 27, 2.9 million. Insurance is, you can't see the number there, it's approximately 210,000. Supplies, 771,000. Purchase services, 4.9 million. And benefits, salaries was 7.6 million and benefits 3.6 million. Also, transportation is expected to increase by 3%, and open enrollment and vouchers combined, the cost is $2,223,764. It's projected. We have our special projects fund. This is used to account for some fundraising and then for PTO and foundation purchases and money coming in and out. Currently have a beginning fund balance of $56,108 and expecting revenues and expenses to flow through there at $45,000 each. Our special education fund, expecting this to increase in 26-27. Revenues $4,989,233 and expenditures the same. There have been some questions earlier. The reason for the increases, why is that so much higher? We added a teaching FTE. We have needs for purchasing instructional services through CISA for some students. Salaries and benefits have went up. We've had a para shortage. Need to fill those positions when they cannot be here. So we are going to be contracting for 2 additional paras subs through Kelly Services, and then some other changes. Those are the major factors. This is still a projection. The debt service fund has a beginning fund balance of $42,600. We're anticipating revenues of $603,430. This is through the tax levy. and the expenditures of $605,483. The district is prepaying $3 million of the state trust fund loan. That payment will be going out next week. And after that payment is made, the state trust fund board will be calculating the amortization schedule, which would decrease our principal payments on that remaining balance. So a projection of what those payments would be were used to arrive at this budget. This could change slightly before October.
Alright, can I just? It says Fund 10 General Fund.
Oh,
I just-
error.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, because I confused that without the numbers.
That's actually Fund 30.
38.
Yeah.
Or is that there?
Then the next slide is the debt balances. These are showing the district currently has three types of debt out. General obligation bonds, it was an original issue of 1.6 million. The state trust fund note, and then the state trust fund to finance operations that started at 6 million. So these would be the beginning balances as of July 1st, 2026, totaling $3,102,659. Principal payments estimated to be $422,727 for a balance of debt, outstanding debt of $2.6 million at year end. Again, the principal payment has been estimated. We'll know that in July. Capital projects, this is our Fund 46. This was opened in 2022 and the district will be able to use it in October of 2027. We currently have a fund balance of $227,593, expecting interest revenues of $6,500 for an ending fund balance of $234,093. In our food service fund, currently we do not have a fund balance and we won't have one at year end. Anticipating revenues of $442,578 and expenditures of $442,578. These numbers came about, the contract with the food service management company did increase by 3%. This is anticipating a decline in student meals served. We've seen a decline in breakfast and other things, so that's why this is showing lower. Our community service fund would start July 1st year with a fund balance of $2,181,578. Anticipating revenues of $250,000 and expenditures of $350,000, with having an ending fund balance of $2,081,578. We do anticipate some changes with our revenues and expenditures
More
in the
than
coming year.
more than what is assumed in these numbers.
No,
Okay,
it's
sorry.
assumed here. We're also recouping some other community service costs through our use of the energy management assessment as well. All fund expenditures, unaudited 25-26, all fund expense of $31,931,591, transfers of $5,618,500. For a net expense of $26,313,091. Our preliminary budget is looking at all funds expense of $26,902,302 minus transfers, and this is assuming a transfer to Fund 27 of $2,978,442 for a net expense of $23,923,386. The transfers you see in 25-26 is the expected transfer to Fund 27 at year end. totals, and then the transfer to the debt service fund to prepay the $3 million in debt, and then 90-some thousand dollars in interest as well. Key budget factors, talked about the people revenue limit increase of 325. September 18th projected membership FTE 955. Projecting that our summer school will be 40% of that number, the FTE would be 6. Open enrollment out, projecting 87 FTE. Open enrollment in, projecting an FTE of 51. Private school vouchers and special needs scholarships, projecting to be 1,237,190. Our certified aid and the special adjustment aid, 1,628,622. We have the 5 million non-reoccurring referendum in year 1. We're in year 1 of that, of a 4-year total of 20 million operational referendum. Property values are projected to increase by 2% to 2,545,736,859. This is the general fund preliminary budget, with future year forecasts. We are projecting an ending fund balance of the 25-26 year of 19.44%, and then next year projecting a surplus of 353,434 that would add to our fund balance for future years, resulting in a fund balance of 20.64% of expenditures. You can see the non-recurring referendum of $5 million per year through 29-30 year, and then in 2030, 2031, we're showing a deficit without another operational. Major cost drivers and key risks, health insurance and the HSA cost increase in the budget is 14%. Wages were increased by 2.63%. Special education services, as I mentioned, additional need for contracted instruction through CISA, additional 1.0 teaching FTE, additional sub-paraprofessionals through Kelly Services. And then our transportation and operations, the cost of transportation is increasing, as well as fuel charges, and the amount of transportation as well is increasing. Utility costs are projected to increase. Key risks and uncertainty in this enrollment volatility, voucher students, high cost needs. And then our timeline and next steps, July 1st, we'll have an aid estimate from the state. That's not final, it's just an estimate. The final aid, certified aid, will be in October. Then we have our third Friday student counts coming up, our summer school counts, equalized property values, certification of aid, and then any changes in projections based on staffing. We still have some open positions, so as we fill those, we'll know more on those costs. Budget hearing, board approval of the budget, and then the board setting the tax levy is upcoming in October. And then there's links to the preliminary budget in publication format that was in the North Shore Now, and then the preliminary budget in adoption. Any questions, comments
From visitors.
from visitors?
Online.
All right. Thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate you presenting and giving a clear overview of the budget for next year.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
So we are adjourning the hearing. Anything special we have to do? Nope. Other than just thank Michelle repeatedly. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're adjourned then. Ending the recording.
We get to keep our 5 minutes.
Does anybody need a quick?
We're
We
just,
can't start
has the
this.
recording ended?
It is stopped.